All right, so today's goal is Unit 7, Goal 4, and we are looking at solving rational equations. So everything that we've been doing with adding, subtracting, multiplying, you're going to see in this lesson parts of it being used. That's why we went through it. So, but this is our ultimate goal, is that I can get to a point where I can solve for x in a rational equation. One thing that kind of helps me with these ones is kind of to try to think of a simpler problem. So if I had something like this, what I could do if I don't really want these fractions is I could do what's called clearing the fraction. So how I would do that is think of something that both 4 and 2 would go into. Well, that's 4. So if I multiply everything by 4, and as long as I do that for everything, then that clears out that denominator. And this goes into 4 twice. And so I would have x plus 6 equals 32. And I can solve that out. So we're going to see that a lot with today's lesson, kind of a little bit more difficult, but that's kind of the idea. So a rational equation is an equation, so it has an equal sign, containing one or more rational expressions. So here's our steps. We're going to find the lowest common denominator like we did in adding. Then we're going to multiply every term by that lowest common denominator over 1. And that will help us cancel out the denominators. And then we're going to solve for the variable. If it's linear, we'll get one variable. If it's quadratic, we're going to set it equal to 0 and factor. And then we also want to talk about that sometimes we have a solution that is called an extraneous solution, meaning that when I plug it back in, it doesn't work or it makes the denominator 0. So here I have two denominators. I have x and 4 minus x. And I can't factor anything out of that, so its factor is just x. And I can't factor out anything out of both these terms, so its factor is just 4 minus x. So my LCD is x, because this needs a factor of x, and this needs a 4 minus x, so x times 4 minus x. So I'm going to multiply this by x times 4 minus x, this by x times 4 minus x. So factors cancel out, so that'll cancel that out and give me 1 on that. So then I have 4 minus x times 1. And this 4 minus x will cancel out with that 4 minus x, so I have x times 1, which is just x. And 1 times anything is also just itself. So I have 4 minus x equals x. Add my x over, and I get x squared equals 4. And so I could factor it since it's quadratic, or I can square root it. So I get x equals plus or minus 2. And then if I plug that in and put a 2 in there, 1 over 2, does that equal 1 over 4 minus 2? Yes. And if I plug in a negative 2, 1 over negative 2, does that equal, excuse me, 1 over 4 minus a negative 2. So negative 1 over 2, does that equal 1 over 6? No, so the negative 2 won't work, so my answer is just 2 instead of positive and negative 2. Let's look at this one. Again, I'm looking for something, so I've got my factors of 4, which is 2 times 2. My factors of 8, which is 2 times 2 times 2, and my factors of 12, which is 2 times 2 times 3. So this one needs 2 2's, this one needs 3 2's, so I'm going to need at least 3 2's. And this one also needs a 3. So my greatest common factor is 24. I multiply that out. So I'm going to multiply everything by 24. So 4 goes into 24 6 times. 8 goes into 24 3 times. 12 goes into 24 twice. So now my denominators are canceled out or just 1. So 6 times 3 is 18. 3 times 5 is 15. 2x. And add those together, and I get 33 equals 2x, and then divide by 2. X equals 16.5. And this one we don't really need to plug in because we don't have any x's in the denominator to check. So try this one. My factors of this is just x plus 1. I can't take anything out, so that factored is x plus 1. And the factors of this is just x. So this needs an x plus 1 factor, this needs an x, so my lowest common multiple is x times x plus 1. So I'm going to multiply everything by x and x plus 1. X and x plus 1. This x plus 1 will cancel. I have x and 1. And this x will cancel, and I have 2 times x plus 1. Then I can distribute out my 2. So x equals 2x plus 2. And then solve for x. Subtract 2. Why am I subtracting 2? Subtract 2x. So I get negative x equals 2, or x equals negative 2. And I can see if I plug in that negative 2, I'm not going to get a denominator of 0, so that is out of the way. And if I plug that in, I'll see that this works. There. So our lowest common multiple will be x. The factors of x is just x, and the factors of 2x is 2 times x. So this one needs an x, this one needs an x, so that's one of my least common multiple. And this one needs a 2, so I'm going to have to at least put 1 2 in. So my least common multiple is 2x. Multiply everything by 2x. A lot of times we forget when there's no denominator. So 2x cancels, and I just have 1. X cancels, and I have the 2 times 1. And negative 12 times x is negative 24x. So I get 3 equals negative 24x. Divide by negative 24. 2 negatives there. X equals negative 1/8. So I'm going to let you try this one. Multiply everything there by an x. It'll work its way out here. And you should get x equals 1. Let's try this one here. So I have my denominators are 24. So that factors into 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. If I did this 24 to 12 to 6 to 3. That's how I can get that. 3 minus x, I can't factor anything out of that, so that's just 3 minus x as a factor of itself. And 4 factors into 2 times 2. So my LCM, I need at least 3 2's there. And this has 2 2's, so that will, I have at least 2 2s, so that's good. I need a 3, and I also will need a 3 minus x. So I get 24 times 3 minus x. So I'll multiply everything by 24, 3 minus x, 24, 3 minus x, 24, 3 minus x. So this 24 will cancel, and I'll have 5 times 3 minus x. 5 comes from here, and the 3 minus x there. This 3 minus x will cancel, and I'll have this plus 2 times 24. And this 4 will go into 24 6 times. So I have 1 times 6 times 3 minus x. Distribute out here so we can simplify. So after that, it's kind of just solving. 15 minus 5x plus 48 equals 1 times 6 is 6 times 3 is 18 minus 6x. Negative 5x plus 63 equals 18 minus 6x. Let's add the 6x over x and subtract 63. And I can see that when I plug that in, I'm not going to get a 0 down there, so that kind of helps that that's going to work for my answer. And last one I'm going to work out here is this is my denominators, 2 plus 2. I can't factor anything out of that, so my factor is just n plus 2. And minus 2, again, can't factor anything out of that. And then this n squared minus 4, that will factor into n minus 2 and n plus 2. So this one needs an n plus 2, this one needs an n plus 2. So my lowest common multiple is going to be at least 1 n plus 2 and 1 n minus 2. So multiply everything by n plus 2 and minus 2. So this n plus 2 will cancel out, and I have 1 times n minus 2 is n minus 2. This n minus 2 will cancel out, and I have 1 times n plus 2, which is n. This plus comes here, plus 2. And these will cancel out, and I just have 3. So when I put my like terms together, I get 2n equals 3, n equals 3 over 2. And I can see when I plug that in, I'm not going to get a 0, so then that's my answer. All right. I think that's all the examples I'm going to show you. If you get stuck, make sure that you let me know and ask some questions. And we will pretty sure to answer those when we meet or talk to each other again. But here's just some of them multiplied out. These ones are just doing cross product. Also, you can also do that instead of when it's just one thing without a plus sign. So those are being solved through cross product, which works well too. But you can see those if you need to pause it. Those on the screen. Hopefully that helps you also. Hopefully that answers any questions. Have a great day.